Hi, this is Elliot Fishman, and welcome to our Facebook Live. I also want to say welcome to our Instagram Live. So that's a side profile. I would have called my hair better on that side. It's Halloween. This is the count. Max will be the count. And sharks, those crazy sharks. But it's a really good count. You know, from Sesame Street. Ha, ha, ha. All right, whatever. Okay, I'm going this week actually out to California. I'll be visiting NVIDIA, so I want to do a big plug for NVIDIA, okay? The reason I'm doing the plug, they have these really good t-shirts to give out, so I wouldn't mind to give me some t-shirts for the people in the lab, okay? So far we've asked GE for t-shirts, we've asked Kit Kats, we've asked M&Ms. So far no one has given us squat, so we'll see if we can get some t-shirts, and maybe Kimberly Powell is the person at NVIDIA in charge of healthcare, can get us some really good t-shirts without breaking 27 rules and regulations. And so Halloween, so welcome everyone to Halloween. You know, in New York, we never did Halloween. It just didn't happen. And but no one, in my house, I have a long driveway, and no one ever comes to my house. We've been in that house for 25 years, and I think once we had a trick-or-treater. And I think it was a homeless person or something, I don't know. But anyway, so let's talk about hematuria. So before I talk about hematuria, just to remind people that in a little over 2 weeks, our course will be in Las Vegas, November 15th to 17th at Caesar's Palace. It's a terrific course, and one of the topics will be hematuria and renal masses. We have Charlie White, Mike Federle, myself, Steve Rowe, Jan Fritz, so I think it's going to be a really good meeting, really nice hotel, really good rates, and it's not too late to register. So register now. Okay, fine. Also, we're going to be February 7th to 10th in Orlando. Great meeting. And then we're going to be in May, and I forgot the dates, in Nashville. So, great CME, and there's nothing better than Hopkins CME courses in CT. Anyway, hematuria. I just thought I'd touch on a couple things that relate to protocols and everything. The question is, and I've mentioned this before about the evaluation of hematuria in the ER setting, where often you see people request non-contrast scans just to move the process along. And I would agree non-contrast scans are very good in looking for the presence of renal calculi and obstruction. Okay, so that's good. But I think it's very important to remember, and it's very important to tell the referring docs in the ER, that a negative CT scan without contrast, it means there's no stones. It doesn't mean the kidneys are normal. You're going to miss three major categories. You're going to miss renal masses, you're going to often miss renal infection, and you're going to miss vascular processes. So if a patient has hematuria, if you want to exclude hematuria, doing a non-contrast scan, by the way, I do have a cold, so don't get too close to your monitors or something. I sound so mature. Hopefully I won't sneeze. But it's very important to recognize that you need to really, really think about that. And what concerns me is if we do a study and we call to the ER and say the study was negative, it's a stone study, the ER doc often hears the CT was negative of the kidneys. Well, that's not true. There was no stone. We're not excluding anything else. So it's important to tell your docs that if they want to exclude a stone, non-contrast alone works fine. But if you have hematuria, the evaluation of hematuria requires IV contrast. And it requires, surely, depending on the patient's age, at least two other phases. I like arterial and delayed. We'll pick up every tumor, whether it's a TCC, whether it's an RCC, whether it's small or it's large, whether it's vascular or it's hypervascular. You'll see everything. But you need to do the right phases. So that becomes very, very important. I also will say in terms of hematuria, the hematuria workup, the importance of multiple phases cannot be overlooked. Despite everything that's advanced and everything we've written about, 25% of patients who have a renal mass under 3 cm who get surgery will have a benign renal mass. Now sometimes that happens, right? A fat, poor angiomyolipoma can screw you over, but it shouldn't be 25%. I think the problem is people often just have a mass on a CT, one phase, and they say, well, it measures 80, it's solid, it's a tumor, take it out. Well, it could be a tumor, The average, apologize for coughing, the average renal mass, that's a papillary cell renal cell carcinoma, measures about 70 to 90 Hounsfield units. That makes all the sense. Remember, the clear cells are 130 to maybe 180. But a renal cyst, a high-density renal cyst, is going to be 70 to 90. Remember those charts that say if you have a non-contrast scan and a lesion is present, well-defined, and measures below 20 or over 70, it's going to be benign, right? So if you have something that measures 85 and you have one phase, you may be calling it a solid tumor because it looks like a solid tumor, but it's really a high-density renal cyst. So you need to be very, very careful in terms of what you say on those images. So if you see something and you're not sure what it is, just say, I see a mass, it's 85 Hounsfield units. Could be a renal cell, could also be a high-density renal cyst. Advise the patient to come back for dedicated CT, or at a minimum, come back for a non-contrast scan. I also have the rule that if something measures the same on arterial and delayed, 85-85, arterial and venous, 85-85, venous delayed, 85-85, measures the same, then it's going to be high likelihood high-density renal cyst. Tumors may be hypo or hypervascular, but there's always at least a 20 Hounsfield unit spread between the different phases. So if you don't have that spread, you have to really be thinking about things, okay? Let me just say I want to welcome everybody who's logging on, and I do, if you have any questions, it's probably going to be a good time to ask questions. Let me see what else in terms of the kidney. Other things I speak about, if you look at CTisus, we have a number of talks on the kidney, the importance beyond multi-phase imaging of how you look at the multiple phases. We're looking at AI and deep learning perhaps as a way of getting things better in that regard, but the fact you need coronals and sagittals and you need 3D to really excel at picking up small masses. Sometimes when you only look at the axial images, you can see things that are easily missed. A partial averaging when they're at the edges, they don't cause great distortion of the boundaries, but then you look at the coronal and you do really, really well. So I think how we look at the images becomes very, very important, not just looking at axial images. Even if your axials look great, you need to look at the coronals. If not, you're going to make a mistake. If you only look at coronals, when you have a question, then you're going to blow a lot of cases. You're just going to make mistakes. So it's very, very important to do that. Let's see, what else can I tell you about the kidneys? We talk about angiomyolipomas as a cause of bleeding. Angiomyolipomas vary. When there's a lot of fat, it's not that difficult. We talk about angiomyolipomas with tuberous sclerosis, though most commonly it's incidental finding in a female who's in their 40s, right? Female fat 40, FFF. But we typically think about angiomyolipomas of having a preponderance of fat, either all fat or a significant proportion of the lesion. We know from the literature there are many cases of fat-poor angiomyolipomas, where literally there are only a few voxels that contain fat. So you're looking at a lesion and something looks low density in it, put your cursor there. You know, eyeballing, you're typically going to say it's just some fluid. Cursor, it measures minus 50, you have a home run, it's an angiomyolipoma. And we know that people have written articles about how you can have a renal cell carcinoma with fat in it, but those are big renal cells that invade the perirenal fat. That's not a 2 centimeter, a 3 centimeter, a 4 centimeter mass with foci of fat. When you have fat in a lesion, it's always going to be benign. And fat-poor angiomyolipomas are one of the things that are commonly operated on. You can be a superhero if you make the diagnosis, and it's all about being a superhero. You know, you don't want to be like a superhero who just says crazy things, but you want to be kind of like making a diagnosis that changes the management of the patient. That's really, really critical. I was looking at a case yesterday at Pancreatic Conference, which was read as negative. And when you look at the coronals, they were reviewing the case. When we did the cinematic, it was like plus 10 positive, and not only is it positive, but it's a neuroendocrine tumor. I mean, that's when you change a patient's life. That'll be resected, the patient will do fine. But it's making those diagnoses that change things, either for being more aggressive management or for being less aggressive management, that indeed becomes very important. And as radiologists, when we look at added value, our added value is being able to diagnose the things that other people don't think about. If the clinician themselves can look at the images and come up with an answer, then you're probably not going to be, that good. It's not, your value is going to be very limited. You need to be where everyone thinks one thing and you spin it around. It's kind of like you need to have your input and your impact on patients' management. And people always remember that those changes that are correct. You don't want to change things that be incorrect, of course. But it's those changes that people really, really like. Okay. Now, I was giving a talk this past weekend in Canada. I was in Toronto, and I gave a talk on, one of my talks was on misdiagnosis, and a portion of that talk really was on the kidney. Because whether it's the wrong phase of acquisition, the wrong reconstruction parameters, the lack of multiplanar, the lack of 3D imaging, all of these things really kind of add to the fuel of missing things. So I also will tell you, and this is going to be a special Halloween treat. For some reason or other, when I went to Canada, and I've spoken there before, they said that I knew really good jokes. Now, I really don't think I know really good jokes. And most of you know that you really can't tell any jokes anymore because there's nothing you can say that's not going to insult somebody. And so you really don't want to insult anybody in these very sensitive times. But I do have a couple jokes, and it's Halloween. So is it all right, guys? My special Halloween edition of CTisus, Facebook. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 jokes. They're all about parakeets. Okay, so these 2 ladies had these parakeets, and unfortunately the parakeets were really very foul-mouthed. They would just say all bad things and curse words, and they would say, I'm a hooker, let's have sex. They really crazed parakeets. So they were upset that they couldn't change those parrots, and so they took it back to the store they bought it, and the guy was very nice. He said, listen, 3 options. 1, I'll give you your money back. 2, I'll give you 2 new parrots. 3, there's a guy down the street who has 2 male parrots who are very religious. All they do all day is pray and play with the rosary beads. And perhaps if you put them together, they'll learn good habits. So these women who really had a social conscience said, okay, let's try that. If not, we'll just get our money back. So they went down, and there they come to this guy's house, and sure enough, there's 2 parrots reading from the Bible and playing with the rosary beads. And so they take the cage, the 2 female parrots, put it next to it, open the top, take the cover off, and there the 2 female parrots are going, we're hookers, let's have sex. And the 1 male parrot says to the other, hey, Louie, stop playing with those beads. Our prayers have been answered. Okay. Normally people laugh a lot, so I'm assuming you're laughing. The second parrot joke. This guy has this parrot. It's foul-mouthed. The guy tried to do better, read poetry, played soft music. No matter what he did, all the parrot would do was curse. One day the parrot was really giving a whole lot of F words. He grabbed the parrot by the throat, opened the freezer, threw him in the freezer. A lot of shuffling, and then there was no noise. And the guy said, oh my God, what did I do? So he opens the freezer, goes to get the parrot, and the parrot comes out of his hand and says, sir, I want to apologize to you. I've been the worst pet ever. I've been the worst parrot. I've been foul-mouthed. I've been terrible. And I promise you from today going forward, I will be the best pet anybody had. I will be the best parrot ever. I will meet all your needs. And the guy said, oh, that's great. And the parrot said, but can I ask you one question? She said, sure. He goes, what did that turkey do? Okay, everyone laughs. Okay, I'm hearing the laughing. It's just knocking me over. Okay, and the third joke, I can't do this one as well because I need like about 20 times to tell a joke before I can get through it. So this lady went to the store to buy a parrot as a pet for her kids. So when she went to the parrot store, they said, okay, here's the first parrot. How much? $5,000. Oh, forget it. What about this parrot? $4,000. No. What about this parrot? $50. Why $50? Looks like the rest of the parrots. Well, this parrot came from a house of ill repute. And this parrot sometimes says things that are inappropriate. And so maybe you can take a chance and retrain the parrot. So she goes, okay, $50, what do I get to lose? Takes the parrot home, puts it, puts on its hook in the cage, and the parrot looks around and says, new house, new madam, new madam. The lady's sitting there, and it's not so bad, whatever. Then a couple of hours pass, and the woman's kids come home from school, her daughters, and the parrot looks, new house, new women, new women. Okay, fine, whatever. Everyone laughed. Then a couple hours later, the husband comes home. The parrot says, hey, Sam, how you doing? Okay. All right, a big laugh. Okay, anyway, happy Halloween. Those are all my jokes I have. I've used everything except for some other jokes, which I'm not going to tell you, that I learned like I was in the 3rd grade, which aren't that good. Something about chickens crossing the road, and you don't want to know. So I wish everyone a good Halloween. Hopefully you've, whether you're in Peru, where Caesar is, or you're anywhere else around, have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye. How do I stop this? What do I do?
Good question.
Okay. 83 viewers. That's pretty good.
Where'd you learn those parrot jokes?
It's taken many years. We should have been better prepared. Like we should have had like a laugh track or something, one of those things where like, people laugh or something.
Well, we could just.
Soundbites to your phone.
What's that?
You need to download some soundbites to your phone so you can play them as you go.
What's that?
You are still on.
We're still on.
Oh.
Hey, we're still on. Goodbye.